All right, viewers, what was a significant development that came in from the top court of the country, the Supreme Court, where it granted interim bail to Ashoka University professor Ali Khan Mahmoodabad, all over his social media post on Operation Sindoor. The top court, however, refused to stay the investigation in the case. The professor has been barred from writing or speaking publicly about his Operation Sindoor post and is also prohibited from engaging with the media. While granting the interim relief, a bench of Justice Suryakant and Justice N.K. Singh blasted the professor for his timing of his remark, calling it dog whistling and an attempt to get cheap publicity. The court said while everyone had freedom of speech, such occasions like the India-Pakistan tensions should not be used to garner publicity. It's interesting, viewers, where this observation comes in from the top court of the country, because there's been a massive debate in the aftermath of the arrest of Professor Ali Khan, whether this was his arrest and attack on freedom of speech. I want to cut across to Anisha, and then we're going to cut across and give a larger understanding to our viewers on how it all panned out. But Anisha, would you give us details? Because, you know, there's a fair amount of backdrop to it all when Professor Ali Khan was arrested. Lots of conversation, commentary on whether this was an assault on freedom of speech, because clearly his social media posts at least didn't seem to be, you know, seditious in nature or in any what way enrage the modesty of women at all. Give us the latest that's coming.
Well, Preeti, these are questions that are being asked repeatedly with regard to how exactly has Professor Khan's comment on social media either been seditious or outraged the modesty of women. In fact, even today, the Supreme Court, while hearing this matter, questioned the Haryana government. Where is the statement that insults the women officers? What exactly has he said in his post that insults the women officers? Because remember, that is why the Haryana Commission for Women had filed a complaint against him, saying or for the charges of outraging modesty of women. But apart from that, the two charges against him are for sedition and fomenting enmity between communities, both of which the Haryana police claims that it is investigating. Today, the court looked at the entire post, looked at all of the things that were said, and said, well, it looks to us that he's trying to be anti-war. It looks to us that he's trying to say that war is bad for people, for soldiers, for their families, for civilians. But what was the need to say such a thing at a time when India is going through crisis? That seems to be the hinge on which the court has questioned Professor Khan today. However, interim bail, of course, has been granted. The court has additionally gagged him from making any further social media posts, not just on this particular issue, but also on the issue of Pakistan's terror attack and India's response to it completely. Additionally, a question being asked by the court, why are people making such comments when India is in the time of crisis? If you look at the order that has been passed, SIT has been constituted headed by IG level officer, superintendent level officers will be part of this SIT. What is interesting is the fact that when the court asked the Haryana government, where is the statement that actually insults the women officers, the Haryana government did not have an answer. They sought time, and now the hearing will be on the 28th of May. But this question, this issue has raised the whole debate across the country on what exactly is freedom of expression, what exactly is the role of the charges of sedition and fomenting enmity and outraging modesty of women in an issue like this, especially with the court also saying, why are people talking about freedom of expression? Why are they not talking about their duty? And why is it that so many people are making comments in the middle of a national crisis? That is where the question comes in. What exactly is going to be the Supreme Court's interpretation of these charges, especially as this is a professor who's saying that it was an entirely patriotic comment meant to raise this issue of communal harmony or communal disharmony in the country. Back to you.
You know, Anisha, while clearly this observation raises some serious questions on the contours of how India should perceive freedom of speech and academic freedom, but having said that, give us, the information on this being the same bench that also heard the Tribal Affairs Minister from Madhya Pradesh, Mr. Shah's statement, and the statement that he made, which was highly derogatory to the two women officers, or rather Colonel Qureshi in question?
Well, yes, this is an interesting point, and this is going to be a very interesting debate to watch, really, Preeti, because on the 28th of May, both these matters will come back to the Supreme Court before the same judges bench. Question being asked now, how exactly is the police, the administration, the courts really interpreting these sections? Remember, both of these cases, of the minister and of the professor, involve FIRs against these persons for sedition, for creating enmity between communities, and for outraging modesty of women. These are the three charges against both these persons. But the tone, tenor, and the statement itself made by both of these persons is very, very different. What the minister said from a public stage was something that compared...
So, Anisha, before I cut across to the entire story, I want to ask you a very quick question. So, the same bench for Professor Ali Khan has of course, given him interim bail, but gagged him from making any statements. On the account of the minister, Mr. Vijay Shah, the same bench has not gagged him and has given him relief from arrest.
Well, that's completely correct. But we need to also see what the observations made by the bench in both of these cases is. What is interesting, as you said, the question we ask about freedom of expression specifically is a big question mark, because the minister has not been gagged. The minister was questioned. You are in a position of responsibility. You are somebody who people look up to. You are somebody who's a sitting minister. So why did you not act more responsibly? Why did you make such statements? For the professor who's made a social media post which has gone viral, he is told you will not make any statements, whether on this particular issue that has happened to you, or even on the general question of Indo-Pak relations or the terror attack. This is going to raise a lot of questions as to how courts are looking into this issue.